fellow collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at the Scout Trooper speeder bike from the Star Wars Epic World of Action series from Hasbro. So Star Wars has also been rebranded as Epic World of Action from Epic Hero series. And I found this at Target yesterday. As you can see here, we have a Scout Trooper, we have a speeder bike. It is not the brown we see on Endor. It's the white as we saw them ride in The Mandalorian, because of course everything has to be Mandalorian related at this point. But not really anything going on here on the sides of the packaging. You can see just a kind of standard bubble-on card. You can see everything that is included. Doesn't look like this has a spring-loaded gun or turret or anything like that, which I'm kind of surprised about, but I don't mind it because I never really cared for those. Spinning it around to the back, it looks like it has a crash feature, so we'll check that out. And then there's something going on with the control sticks, moving this piece on the bottom, so we'll see how that goes as well. So I'll get everything out of the packaging here, and we'll take a closer look. So here is everything you get in the packaging. I'm going to move this stuff off to the side just for a moment, so we can take a look at the Scout Trooper. Now, the first thing right off the bat, he's definitely like a off-white, kind of almost yellowish color, and I don't know what that's about. I did check all of the ones at the store, and they were all the same color. I thought maybe it was a fading issue or something, but I guess they intend for him to be this kind of sandy beige-ish color instead of the white that they usually are, so I don't know what that's about. But I will say that this is probably the best Star Wars figure for the Epic Hero series / Epic World of Action that they've ever done. This is definitely more on par with what we're seeing on the Marvel side of things. So the head's on a ball joint. You can spin that side to side. You can look slightly down, slightly up, even tilt side to side ever so slightly. You do have a hinge. Doesn't give you a ton of motion because of the shoulder pad, but you can get a little bit out of the hinge there in the shoulder as well as a rotation. He does have a hinge and a rotation at the elbow. The forearm and hand is one solid piece, so nothing there. Nothing in the waist or hips. Well, I'm sorry, waist or abdomen. He does have hips. They are ball joints, so I don't know how well this is going to show up, but yeah, you're probably not going to be able to see that. Maybe there a little bit. It kind of gives him the ability to have like a bit of a thigh swivel, but not a ton. He can kick kind of forward, but again, he has these pieces here that are molded in that kind of hinder that, and he can kick about that far out to the side for the same reason, because of that piece. But then he does have the typical knee bend and swivel. Again, nothing in the ankle or anything like that, but this is pretty much the same level of articulation we're seeing with the Marvel Epic World of Action figures. He even has the connector here on the back, so if you wanted to plug something into his back. There is no overly gigantic spring-loaded missile launcher, which I was really happy about, but the bike does have the ability to peg one in. Here, there's one on the back, and then I guess if there's something that has this kind of connection, you could peg it on top of that. So I guess if you have them from the previous releases, they wanted it to still be compatible. I have not bought any of the figures from this line because they were oversimplified 5 POA, and I was already collecting Vintage Collection, and I didn't feel the need to get into that, but I was kind of picking up some vehicles, to supplement here and there. But this is not bad. I mean, if this is the new standard, now, part of me kind of believes that he had to have more articulation to use the bike, because obviously a 5 POA figure would not be able to straddle the bike. So I think that's why this guy has as much articulation as he does. But if this is the new standard, this is a viable alternative to Vintage Collection, because Vintage Collection's getting kind of pricey, and the single figures are getting in that $16, $17 range, and this whole set was $20. So if you kind of figure, maybe the bike is worth, even if you think the bike is worth 10, the figure is worth 10, I'm fine with that. I kind of feel like that makes sense. So, if these, and I see these at Walmart, and they're the older ones. Now, to be fair, I haven't really looked at them too much since they started doing like the second wave that has Darth Maul, some of the newer characters. I'll have to take a closer look and see if those figures have better articulation than the original set. Because, just to show you a comparison here, the only other figure I have, see if we can get this guy to stand here, is Mandalorian, because he came with the N1 Starfighter, and that's the only other release from this line that I have. But he is definitely 5 POA. He does have a ball joint for the head, but the hands swivel, there's no hinge, there's no elbow, and the legs kick forward, there's no knees. So this is kind of like what they had been doing, at least for the first wave. Now, they still have these little peg holes on the side, and this guy does have that as well. I think that has to do with, again, some of the releases having weapons or missile launchers or things that you can peg into the side of their forearms. I haven't run into any of those, but they're kind of keeping the gimmicks of the past, but giving it better articulation. So like I said, we'll have to see it. This is a step in the right direction. If they keep doing this and all the figures, and I don't know why they didn't do this from the beginning. Like, there's no reason that Mando can't have the same articulation that he does. And I don't know why they took a step back and decided to start with 5 POA, but I think they may have quickly realized that it's not working, because I don't see these things selling. The first wave, I saw a lot of them on clearance at Walmart, and then even the newer ones I feel like got marked down pretty quickly. The Darth Maul one, I think, went from like 20 to 12 pretty quickly. So I just don't know who these are supposed to be hitting with. I guess they thought they'll keep it simple for the target audience, but I mean, the Marvel ones are more articulated, so I don't know why you would single out Star Wars to go backward. And again, it could be because that's the only 4-inch Marvel line that they have going right now, and maybe they didn't want to compete with Vintage Collection. I don't know. But here is one of the Marvel ones from the Epic World of Action. Or I guess technically when this one came out, it was still Epic Hero Series or whatever, but we'll just call it the Epic line, just to make it simple. So this was the original run of Star Wars stuff, 5 POA. This is our new guy here with all the articulation. And then this is Captain America here with all the same kind of articulation that this guy has. Has the hinges, has the elbows, has the knees. And these are fun little figures. I like these. For 4-inch, you can see they're all roughly the same size. And so you could use them all together if you wanted. But yeah, I'm really hoping this is the way they keep going. And then just to throw it in a little bit more, here is a Vintage Collection Scarif Trooper. Now, of course, they're going to have more paint applications. They're going to have more accessories. They're more expensive figures. But if you're just looking for something, no frills, but still good, this could be a viable alternative to this if it's about half the price. I mean, if this guy is, not to be fair, this guy came in a 4-pack, and I think the 4-pack was, let's say, $50. So say they're $12.50 a piece. So if you're looking at it like that, but most of the like single figures, like big characters, your Lukes, your Captain Rexes, your Count Dooku's, they're more in the 15 to 17 range. And if you could get a Dooku that was like this level of articulation with a lightsaber for $10, I could definitely be into that. So we'll have to see what the future of this line holds, but I'm definitely thinking this is a step in the right direction. All right, so moving on to the bike, like I said, does not have a big spring-loaded missile launcher, but instead he has this little satchel bag, and it does have a big peg here. Now, it also has a connector here, and I'm assuming that's in case you want to put it here on the back. You can, so you could pop it on this peg and have it on the back like that if you want, or you could use the peg on the side to attach it either here on the back or on either of the sides. So whatever you like, you have a lot of options to connect this thing. And if you have a Grogu, this is the one that came with the N1 Starfighter. He will fit inside. Now he's a little comically large. You can't put the satchel over top of his head, but he will fit in there. But yeah, so I think that's kind of cool. I mean, it's obviously made for Grogu because, you know, putting accessories... Oh, this comes off. Yeah, you'll see that in a moment. Putting accessories in there, I mean, doesn't... I mean, I guess it's not impossible, but that's going to fall out probably anytime you do anything. But then again, so would Grogu. Because he sits in there, he probably would fall right out too. So, you have this satchel bag. It's kind of neat. It's all right. It has these little wheels, and I think it's kind of neat. They're like... not entirely translucent, but a kind of, well, I should say not entirely transparent. They are translucent because they have that kind of like tinted fog to them, but it's meant to make it look like it's hovering because it's not super opaque, which is kind of a cool feature. I think that's kind of neat. I think that works. You know, make it look like it's hovering above the ground. So the directions show that the handlebars and the footrests can move, and I thought it was like one moving the other. It literally is just that you can move them up, you know, forward or back, depending on like the character you're using and how they're sitting. So if you need like someone with longer arms, and this keeps falling off and it's annoying, but if you need someone with longer arms, you can push these forward just like to change their grip. So it's not really a feature. I mean, I guess it's a feature, but it's not. I thought it was like pushing these down did something, or you know, because you know how they kind of, these are accelerators. It's really just you can change the position depending on if you're using a larger figure or something. These pieces on the back also do not open. These flaps are supposed to, you know, when the accelerators activate, these are supposed to like go out of the way, but they don't move. So this thing keeps falling off, as you've seen. So basically how this feature works, the main feature, when this hits into something, it's supposed to throw this and like the seat bucks forward, you know, like a crash, and the pilot gets thrown. So we'll see if this works just by hitting my hand. I mean, not too bad. So you can see that piece got thrown. And there is some molded detail on here, no paint or anything, which would have been nice to have a little bit of paint for the controls there, but what are you going to do? Now, when you're putting this back, this goes down and clicks very nicely into place. This does not. This just sits on there, and I'm assuming it's because of the nature of how it works. If it clicked in too tightly, maybe it wouldn't get thrown the way it's supposed to. So you can see the button there. So when you put this on, it does depress that, but this doesn't really like click in and stay in. So if you're just fiddling with this, like it doesn't fall immediately out when you turn it upside down, but it's very easy to accidentally knock off. So that's kind of annoying, but it could be worse. But I think the feature's kind of neat. I remember the original one they did. Well, not the original. I didn't have the original Kenner one from back in the early 80s. But in the Power of the Force, the one that I had in the 90s, there was a similar feature. I think there was a button on the back that you pressed, and it split in half and was spring-loaded. You know, because when they're flying these things in Return of the Jedi, they're constantly like exploding against the trees. This one just kind of throws the pilot. So we'll see if we can actually get him on here. Now, like I said, unfortunately, because of those little pieces right here, it's kind of difficult to get him in a sitting position. But we'll see what we can do. They are a little malleable. They're kind of a softer plastic. So I might not, like if you're putting this guy on the bike, maybe don't store it that way or pose it that way, because I'm assuming it would eventually bend them. It already looks like it's starting to. But we'll put this like this. See if we can get the hands on the controls here. Shouldn't be too difficult. And he just already just came right off. I'm wondering if because he kind of attaches to this and they want him to be thrown with this, that's why it had to be like extra movable with the spring, and that's why they couldn't attach it any more tightly. Like it has to be related to the gimmick. Like that has to be why it's not clicking in. So I don't know, maybe I want these. Now these are as far back as they can go. Hold on, let me see if I can. Yeah, it's these stupid things on the side. See, he's connected on here now, but now this won't go down low enough and have his feet still fit. Maybe. We'll get there. This is going to happen. Okay, there we go. He's not quite sitting on it, but he's holding this. This is where this is supposed to be, and his feet are in the right position. So we'll go with that. So he is attached, and now let's see. Yeah, I mean, it throws him. He definitely stays connected to this, and he goes launching. So, not bad. And maybe if I push these forward, would that help? Use that feature as it's intended. Honestly, instead of moving front to back, I wish I could move them like this. Like the original one, again, the original one. The one I had from Power of the Force in the 90s, these just moved like a swivel like this. And that was better because I would almost rather bring these down a little bit so he could sit more. So yeah, I don't know. It might just be one of those things where we don't attach him to those. Let's see, if he's just sitting on here, well, everything just kind of fell off at that point. It was hard to tell if he was actually just falling or being launched. Here, I'll just push it. So yeah, kinda. Still not as good. So it's an interesting idea. I think it's a good looking speeder bike. I mean, if you just want a speeder bike for him to ride around on, I think it's a decent vehicle. I don't know if the feature works super well. And see, already if I bring his legs back down, these are all kind of warped. I think I would have just left these pieces off. Honestly, I would have just, his normal belt, I think would have been enough. And we could have just left these pieces off and then it wouldn't have hindered his leg movement, which is obviously very important when you want him to sit on something. But what are you going to do? It's still a step in the right direction. It's still better than 5 POA. Let's see, just for fun, if I bring in my vintage collection. Now, see, he's got a similar thing going on here. So, but see, he's got the old kind of bad legs with the hinge that I do not care for. So I will give Epic World of Action the upper hand on that because I hate these hinges. I can't even see where this one is because of this stupid overhang. I think it's like this. There it is. So yeah, it's kind of difficult to, because of he's got that big piece there, but assuming you could do something like this and it worked better and he didn't have as much stuff in the way, you could definitely have some vintage collection guys ride these, and I feel like it scales pretty well. I think that looks pretty good. So if you just wanted to buy, you know, a couple of these, if they go on clearance or something, and use them for vintage collection figures, I feel like that works pretty well. The scale there is pretty good. Just get a figure that doesn't have all of this leg kibble in the way. What is going on? I really do hate these. That is one thing I absolutely hate, these hinges. The old way they used to do legs. I think they just do ball joints now. I think it has gotten better, but I really do not care for these hinge and swivel hips. Because, like, at least if you're going to do a hinge and a swivel, have it connect here, not here. Like, that's the part I hate about it. Because, to be fair, like, the Marvel ones, and this is actually a ball joint. I don't know if I can show this off. This is an honest to true ball joint. I mean, you can see it there. That is just a ball joint. And it works well. It's nice. The Marvel ones are those kind of big hinges where the leg has like the cutout, but at least the hinge, like the pin, goes into the crotch like this. With the Star Wars ones, they go into the body this way, and then you have to spin them until you find the hinge and then bend it. And I hate those. And it's terrible. And I don't know why. You can kind of see it there. See, there's the hinge. But instead of the pin going in like this, the pin goes up into the body like that. It's awful. And I don't know why they ever thought that was a good idea. Alright, I think that's... Anyway, this is not a vintage collection figure review, so... Let's put him off to the side. Let's see if we can get Captain America here to ride this bad boy. Unfortunately, these don't even go... Like, that's really about as much as he does. But, I mean, you know, he's on it. I don't know how well it's working. Get this hand on here, maybe. Sure. And this piece is coming off. See, I kind of wish that, like, I wish there was a way I could lock this in and ignore the feature completely, but it's not happening. So every time I try to connect someone onto that, the whole piece just comes off. And every time I try to sit someone in here and put their feet in the stirrups, they end up hovering in the air like that. But yeah, you could have Cap ride it. It kind of works. Doesn't really want to stay on it because this piece keeps coming off, but okay, you get the idea. So all said and done, I don't know how I feel about this. I really like the Scout Trooper. I wish he was more white than beige. I don't know why that happened, but I definitely think this is a step in the right direction. If this is how their epic world of action figures are going to be going forward, with the full articulation that the Marvel ones have. I mean, you have the elbows, you have the hinge in the shoulders, you have the knees, you have a ball joint that gives you a bit of a thigh swivel as well. This is a good figure. I think this is a fun, tiny little figure. The weapon's great, fits into his hand nicely. No overly goofy, giant weapons with spring-loaded gimmicks. Well, I mean, this is spring-loaded, but I'm saying no giant missile launchers or goofy armor or spinning weird stuff that they've been doing for Star Wars up until now. That's all not here. You just have a good, simple figure. He's a little off-white, but other than that, he's got good articulation. He looks good. This is a solid little figure. And if they're going to start making Star Wars figures like this at a $10 to $12 price point, I think that could be a winner. It could be a viable alternative to the vintage collection for people that want it. As far as the bike goes, aesthetically, I think it looks good. You know, the color's nice. The little satchel, you know, you got a couple options of where to mount it. That's fine. You know, it's pretty basic, but it's fine. I like how the wheels work. I think it rolls well. I even like the exploding gimmick. Not bad. The only thing I don't like is this piece. And I understand, you know, how it has to work, especially because the figure connects to this, and so they need this to be very easily removable. But I wish there was a way that this would click into place like the seat does and not fall off anytime you try to move the handlebars or connect a figure to the handlebars, because this really just rests in here. Now it has a little bit, you can see like these pieces here, they kind of, you know, friction onto this, but they don't really connect. It's really just like a little bit of friction. And it's better than nothing, because like I said, it doesn't really fall off as soon as you turn it upside down, so I appreciate that. But I really don't know why this couldn't have just clicked into place the same way the seat did, because I want the option to just use this as a speeder bike, connect the figures on, and enjoy how it looks without this thing coming off every 10 seconds. So if there was a way that this, like if this was a piece that went down and connected in, like, you know how the missiles have that kind of chunk and then the thing goes in there and then you press the button and it goes out. That's how they fire. Something like that. I don't know why they couldn't have done something like that. I'm sure that's how the seat works. And I don't know why. Yeah, I can see it already. It's down in there, but you can't see it from the shadow. But in any case, I don't know why they couldn't have done it the same way. This needs to secure in better. Then I would really like it. Honestly, I would have no complaints. If that secured in better, I think this is a really great set. Now, as this stuff usually stands, I say wait for Target clearance, because even Walmart, I think, cleared out the N1 Starfighter. I saw that thing for half price pretty quickly, if I'm being honest. Certainly around the holiday season, it was totally slashed. I think at one point I saw it as low as like $12, $15. It's usually $30. So this is a $20 set. I don't think the price is unreasonable. Honestly, it's a pretty good articulated figure and a decently sized vehicle for $20. I don't think that's outrageous. You know, 15 would have been a stellar deal. I don't think 20 is unfair. But I'm sure it's going to go on clearance, so if you can hold out, or maybe get yourself one. Like, if you really want one, get yourself one, and then if you want an army build, wait for clearance or something like that. But, you know, if this thing ever shows up for $10, I think that's a steal. If you ever find this on Target clearance for $10, I think that's a steal. I really don't think the price is unreasonable, though. Because like I said, this is easily the best Star Wars figure they've done for World of Action to date, and I hope it's the way it's trending. I hope that they see this, and there's no reason to go back to the 5 POA. There's just no reason. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you hope it stays like this? Were you a bigger fan of the 5 POA? Are you like me where you kind of think this guy only has the articulation because he had to ride the bike and everything else is going to stay 5 POA? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thank you so much for watching.